Welcome everyone to our November Club Sports Seminar. I Tonight we have an exciting session all about how to earn your Distinguished Toastmaster Award or DTM. Since the pathway started, the DTM award also changed somewhat, and tonight we'll hear about those changes and how is it different than what used to be in the old program. We'll focus on the here and now rather than looking the past, but those changes are important to learn about. And I'll go and introduce Robert Wall, our program quality director, to give additional information and launch right into it.
Awesome. Thank you, Yuri. So, the requirements for a Pathways DTM. I have a link from the Toastmasters website that I'm just going to drop right on into the chat here, just in case anybody has somehow not seen this. Basically, you have to complete two full learning paths. So level 1 to level 5 of two complete paths. You have to serve as a club officer for two 6-month terms or one annual term. If you're in our district, the vast majority of clubs, I think there might be one that doesn't, elect for annual terms. So you just serve your whole officer term. And while you're in that term, you prepare a club success plan and you participate in club officer training. You have to do a 1-year term as a district leader. You have to be a successful club mentor or coach. You have to be a club sponsor or conduct a speechcraft or youth leadership program. And you need to complete the DTM project. It's a relatively straightforward checklist, although there are always questions. And I have assembled some people here tonight that are going to talk about a couple of the different components of this. And we will have Q&A time if anybody has any questions. And also for those of you watching at home on the recording, the fact that you missed the seminar does not mean that you cannot ask questions. We love questions and we love it when you reach out. So if you have any questions about this now or in the future, please do not hesitate to reach out. We are not going to talk about the two learning paths or the club officer role because those are things that most people are familiar with, but we're going to cover the other stuff a little bit. The third requirement is that you serve a complete 1-year term as a district leader. And some people don't quite understand what that is. What's a district leader? What do they do? Why might I want to do that? Apart from getting the DTM, what benefits are there for me? And to talk about that, we have our current district director, Mr. Jason Feucht. Jason, take it away.
Thank you, Robert. It's my privilege to chat just a little bit about district leadership. District leadership, in many ways, is taking the next step beyond the club. If you're serving as a club leader, you particularly interact.
I found some web results.
And Siri decided to say something there, but excuse me. Never mind. Sorry about that. As a district leader or as a club leader, your most likely district leader that you're interacting with is your area director. And the area director is in many ways the first step or in the first role that many Toastmasters are aware of what the district leadership is. And an area director is, I think, one of the most fun roles. And they're basically a direct connection of the district support to clubs. And they work directly with 4 to 7 clubs and supporting those clubs and helping work with them. But the district has many other roles that are very interesting to learn about. And some of them, like area director, are meant to be more entry-level type roles or not requiring elections or other levels of experiences. And the others are really our administrative team. Our administrative team consists of an administration manager, a public relations manager, and a finance manager. And for those 3 roles, they're some of the most important roles in the district, but they don't require experience, but they do require an interest, and they can be augmented by having experience. So, for example, if you want to learn about public relations and you've done some time as public relations manager in your club and want to do more with that, you could volunteer to become public relations manager and help support public relations for the whole district. Conversely, if you love public relations and really want to go to the next level and work on your public relations because you want to build a public relations career, a great way to volunteer to use those skills you already have is to become a public relations manager for your club or eventually the district. Similarly for finance manager. A finance manager or administration manager. You don't need to be an accountant or a CPA to be finance manager. You need some experience and some understanding of finance and basically balancing your checkbook. But if you want to gain those experiences, you can gain those experiences. But if you have those experiences and want to leverage those experiences because you're a CPA or really want to learn or dig deeper into that, you can do the same. That's really what's cool about some of the district leadership roles that are out there. The other roles that we have are division director. Division director is an elected role. You actually have to run for election and go through what's called the district leadership committee, who interviews you and determines who's eligible to run for election. And the division director's role primarily is to support the area directors. Just like area directors support clubs, division directors support the area directors. And then there's the final three roles, which we call the trio: the club growth director, the program quality director, and the district director. Typically in our district, we go through the progression. You start as club growth director and then become program quality director and become district director. But technically the requirement of any of those three is you must have been a division director at some point prior to that point. The trio, we are and have the responsibility of trying to coordinate all of the things that are going on in the district. The club growth director focused on building new clubs and helping clubs grow. The program quality director focused on education and the district conference and ensuring that our members receive the information that we need. And district director, the role I'm privileged enough to have right now, is trying to coordinate all of those things and keep everybody focused on the main thing, the district mission, where we support all clubs and help all clubs support building new clubs and help all clubs achieve excellence, and support moving forward to do what we need to do as a district and keeping people focused, because there's a lot that we can do, but what we need to do is sometimes the hard thing to find. With that, I will pass things back to Robert for our next presenter.
Awesome. Thank you, Jason. And just a quick clarification on that. I got a message in the chat. You don't need to be a division director to run for the trio, but you have to have been an area or a division director, I believe is the current. Yeah, because we have a couple of district directors that I don't think ever made the pit stop at division. Anyway, but awesome. Thank you so much, Jason. Up next, the next requirements that you have to have served successfully as a club mentor or coach, and you need to serve successfully as a club sponsor or conduct a speechcraft or youth leadership program. And to discuss these is going to be our club growth director for this year, Miss Theresa Flynn. Theresa, take it away.
Thank you, Robert. It's kind of mind-boggling to try to figure out exactly which things count. So if you think a little bit about how one of the requirements is starting these groups of people together, and the other requirement is helping groups that exist get better, it might help, because the starting of groups includes the club sponsor, speechcraft, and youth leadership. You're getting the word out there, you're recruiting new members, you're sharing the opportunity to develop those professional and public speaking skills. And it involves getting out there, talking to people you don't know, bringing people in and helping them develop when you don't have a previous relationship with them at all. It's really stepping outside your comfort zone for a lot of people. The other side is the club mentor or club coach. And here there's an existing club, either newly chartered or longtime chartered, who needs guidance. The club mentor works with a newly chartered club that needs a little bit of might need a little bit of fine tuning as far as what their executive committee is doing, or maybe making sure that they're working with the area director or answering questions or making sure there aren't any challenges. Club coach is where existing clubs are below 12 members and you are facilitating discussion to make sure all members are heard and the club is able to improve, get firing on all cylinders, and attract new members. It's not the person that does all the stuff. For the club coach, you cannot join the club. The club mentor or sponsor, you may be a member of the club. And the speechcraft or youth leadership would not really be a membership issue. One challenge of some of these is that it's going to require a set amount of time. So club mentor is a set amount of time. It's 6 months. Speechcraft and youth leadership has a bit of variety in the amount of time, depending on how you are setting up the specific meetings and scheduling it out. The club coach has a maximum amount of time. It's about 2 years. And the club sponsor can be super fast. If you know of 30 people who want to be in a Toastmasters club and you can get them all to sign up and pay to become new Toastmasters, it doesn't take very long at all to get that club started. But if you only know of 18 people, you're still going to be finding those 2 more people. It varies. The cool thing is that for club mentor, coach, and sponsor, I have a whole list of really great opportunities. We're hoping to start a couple virtual clubs. We're hoping to start a couple clubs in real time, and they're going to need sponsors and mentors. We have many clubs, not as many as we used to, but we still have many clubs that need club coaches. Again, you're not doing everything. You're helping facilitate the discussion, and you are an accountability partner with the executive team. Speechcraft and youth leadership are both really excellent programs that attract people into learning more about Toastmasters, and in Speechcraft, it's a way to attract those people and bring them into new clubs or existing clubs. And we are putting together a group of people that can be used as resources for when you want to put together your Speechcraft or youth leadership. All of these options encourage you to step outside your comfort zone, try something new, and bring more people into Toastmasters, helping them achieve their communication and leadership goals. Robert?
Awesome. Thank you, Theresa. And of course, our final requirement, and this is a little bit on the mysterious side. It is the completion of the DTM project. And the reason I say it's mysterious is not because it's a huge secret or it's particularly complicated, but more that you don't even get access to the material for this until you've completed a full path. You complete level 3 in another path, and then you request the access. So a lot of members ask us questions like, what is this? And what is this going to involve? And, how am I going to learn this? And why can't you tell me about it now? So to answer some of those questions, we've invited Teri McGregor, one of our past district directors who has completed the DTM project, and she's going to talk a little bit about what the requirements are for this and how it all comes together. Let's welcome Teri.
All right. Thank you, Robert. Ooh, this super secret. I have it for you tonight. Yeah, you can access the super secret sauce to the DTM project. Like Robert said, after you've completed a full path, and then after you complete level 3 of that second path, you can email Toastmasters and they will give you access to the DTM project. It will show up in your base camp. It is just like every other level in base camp, every other project you work through, where you will have a tutorial and you will walk through virtually the project. I'm going to go through the basic steps of what that project requires. And then at the end, I will share with you a PDF of the checklist for the project. So you can have that as a reference as you are planning for your DTM project. The DTM project, or some might refer to it as a capstone project, really is the intention of that project is to bring together all of your learnings, both communication and leadership that you learned in Toastmasters, put it all together into a larger project. The project should benefit an organization. It doesn't have to benefit Toastmasters. It can benefit any organization that you're a part of. It could benefit something you're doing at work. It could benefit another nonprofit organization. It could benefit something that you're doing outside of work. It doesn't have to be Toastmasters. It certainly can be something that you're doing inside of Toastmasters, but it doesn't have to be. It just has to benefit an organization. This project requires you to build a team and work with a team on a long-term project. You must give a speech to your club to give an intro about what your project is. It could be any part of that project, what your goal of the project is, an intro of the project, whatever you deem that first speech to be. Then you're going to go out and you're going to execute that project. You're going to lead your team. You're going to plan your project. You're going to complete your project. At the end of that project, it's not just over. You're going to get feedback on that project. Toastmasters has a really nice feedback tool. It's called the 360 evaluation form, and you're going to ask everybody on your team to fill out that form and provide you with the feedback. And the feedback is meant for you to learn from that. Feedback. How did you do? What could you do better on your next project? Because the goal is, right? Feedback is, we do that at every meeting, right? With our evaluations. And we want that feedback so we can always do better and keep doing the things that we're doing well. So you're going to ask everyone on your team to provide that feedback in the form of that 360 evaluation. Then you're going to lead your team in a lessons learned discussion about your project. Then you're going to go back to the club and you're going to give a longer speech, an 8 to 10 minute speech about your project. And it could be any aspect of the project. How did it go? You could talk about the feedback you received from your team. Maybe it's the first time you've ever led a team. Maybe it's the first time you've ever planned a project. Maybe it's the first time you've ever led a lessons learned, and maybe you want to share some insights into that. Anything about the project that you want to share with your team. Maybe it didn't go quite as well as you hoped, and you want to talk about that. Maybe it was the more successful than you thought it would be, and you want to share that with the club. So you're giving that second speech. And then when it's all said and done, and you've finished your project, and you finished level 4, level 5 of that second path, you are submitting the application to Toastmasters International. The nice thing about this particular project is you're not just planning the project. They're not just saying, here's how you plan a project. They're giving you 10 different tools about how to plan a project. They give you a project plan, a sample project plan, and they're giving you videos and tutorials and resources on different ways to plan a project so you can pick the best way that's for you to go out and plan this project. So I really enjoyed, and even though I have a project management background in my career, I found a tool that I absolutely had never seen before and fell in love with, and took that back to work with me and use. So I really enjoyed this project. For my own personal project, I chose to use my year as district director and implementing my own vision as district director, and I chose 2 of the goals that I wanted for the year. So it wasn't something that I finished in a month. It was something that took me a full year to see through. And I wasn't successful in achieving both of my goals. And I was able to speak to that in my final speech. And I had a team, the admin team, it was the top 7 that was on my team, and they were with me all year, and they were invaluable to my experience, and they all filled out the 360 evaluation form. And I was able to put that lessons learned information that they shared with me and that feedback to good use in an 8 to 10 minute speech, which was really hard to squeeze into 8 to 10 minute speech. So, but it was a really good experience, and that's what I used. So I am going to put in the chat this is the DTM project checklist that's available. It has all of the bullets that I kind of covered about what you need to do in that project. It doesn't have all the secrets and the super secret sauce of the DTM project, but it does give you a high level overview if you're planning. If you haven't yet completed a DTM project and you're like, what do I have to do? This will get you started. So with that, I will turn it back over to Robert.
Awesome. Thank you, Teri. So those are the requirements, all nicely laid out and with some nice exposition of some of the ones that may not be obvious. Again, you got your 2 learning paths. You have a year total as a club officer. You have a year total as a district leader. You have to be a club mentor or coach. You have to be a club sponsor or conduct the Speechcraft or youth leadership. And you have to complete the DTM project. Now, this is a list that shows up on the website in a nice sequential order. And the one thing I just want to kind of wrap this whole thing up with is it's a sequential list, but it's not a sequential process. So you join Toastmasters and you decide, hey, you know, I'm a go-getter. I want to get the highest, fanciest award that I can possibly get. And I want to never have to buy another name tag. You're my kind of person. So you sign up for Toastmasters. The club is having officer elections a month later, and they say, hey, would you like to do VP of PR? You don't say, well, no, I haven't done a learning path yet. Sure, I can totally do VP of PR as long as it meshes with your schedule, your workload, that sort of thing. Just jump right in. If you've done the VP of PR, maybe you'll do VPE, and then maybe someone will ask you to be an area director in a following year. You don't have to say, well, you know, I don't have my 2 learning paths done. I don't know if I can do this district officer thing. No, that's the whole thing. You can work on these things all together. Someone says, we'd like to start a club at your place of employment. You've been a member for 5 minutes. You can be a club sponsor and help them out with the paperwork and start getting your ticket punched for your DTM award. The only project in this list that is gated as far as a start date is the final DTM project, because you have to have a whole path done, plus you have to have level 3 in the next path, and you have to ask for the DTM project. But like Teri said, you can be working on the DTM project while you are finishing your level 4 and your level 5 in that second path. So don't look at this as sequential. Look at this as a buffet, which has 6 different things, and you should really dip into each, and there's no prescribed order for the vast majority of it. And like I said, the coolest thing about being a DTM is you never have to get another name tag because it just says DTM after your name. So, although some people have done multiple DTMs, we have at least one of those people on the call. Chris, how many do you have? Chris has 4 DTMs, so she just really loves the program. Anyway, I just encourage you to look at this, though, as a list of things to be checked off in whatever order they come most naturally to you, and pursue the project. Again, if you have any questions on this, you can email me. I'm the program quality director. If you want to talk to Jason, Teri, Theresa, we all answer email relatively well. So feel free. Reach out. Chris says she has 3 from the traditional education program and just earned her first Pathways DTM last month. That is awesome. So anyway, it's a fun process. And in our district, when you get it, we have a big thing at the convention where you get to go around and shake everybody's hand or fist bump or get hugs or whatever it is that you're into. It's a big party. So anyway, looking forward to seeing all of you someday in the proverbial hug line. And with that, do we have any questions, comments, thoughts, anything? Anybody? I see Yuri.
On the link you posted, Robert, there's the part about participating in district sponsored club officer training. Is there a line on the actual application for the DTM to indicate when you participated for the purpose of just evidence, or how? Yeah.
The DTM application is listed, actually, it's linked right off of that page. It's down below. They do ask you for a date for your club officer training, and they do ask you for a date that you helped with the club success plan. But all they want to see is that the date you picked is believable. In other words, I attended officer training in January 2023, and they say you weren't an officer in January of 2023. That's what they're looking for. They're going to look at that date, they're going to cross-reference it to your officer history, and they're going to make sure that it happened in that time frame. So no, you do not need to get a special certificate of dispensation from the program quality director that you hand in to TI with your, lucky lottery ticket stuff to get your DTM. That's not a requirement in any way, shape, or form. It's that part is the honor system. But TI does have, because you update your club officers on the TI website, they do have a list of all the officer roles you've ever held. So they can verify when you type in your dates, whether or not those dates coincide with an officer role.
What else they got?
Anything else?
And then
Susan.
Oh, God, Susan.
Thanks, Yuri. I was just typing something in chat, but I can tell it. I don't know who has a DTM. Well, I know who has, but I'm not sure who does not have a DTM. I started probably a couple of years ago filling out the form to do exactly what Yuri was talking about, capturing the dates so that I wouldn't forget them or wouldn't have to go back and look. And recently, probably about 4 or 5 months ago, I downloaded a new form and it's different. So you might want to make sure you use the most recent DTM application form. I, for one, would really hate not to get my DTM because I screwed up the application. That's all I want to share.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. TI does update their paperwork periodically. As far as I know, the Pathways DTM requirements have never actually changed, but the paperwork might. So when you're working on it, downloading that application and just filling it in as you go, that is a super smart way to do it. But before you submit it, go get the current copy and copy all the data over. And quite honestly, you're not going to lose all your credit or anything like that. They're just going to send it back and they're going to say, this is not using the approved current form, and they're going to make you fill out the paperwork again. So not a big deal, but no one wants to go through that. Todd.
My question has to do with the abolishment of 5 of the paths. What if you're presently in the middle of one of those paths that's being disintegrated, crushed, phased out, or whatever? How are you going to accomplish getting to the end if it no longer is there?
My understanding, now this is my understanding as of now, based on the information that's been communicated, is that anybody who is currently working in a path will have access to that path material until they complete the path. That's my understanding. The abolishment or the retiring or whatever we're calling it of the other paths is going to prevent new signups into those paths. So if you're on level 3 of creative district leadership, which isn't a path, but I'm just making it up. If you're on level 3 of that and you want to keep going, it's going to disappear. You can just keep on cranking on in that path and finish it, and it will count as a path for this purpose. That is my understanding as of now. I see Jason just came off
Yeah.
mute. Do you have something to add?
That's correct. The only other piece that I would add is it's not being updated into the new way that the new pathways is going to be working. The curriculum will stay the same. It won't be updated in any way. Whereas the paths that are continuing in the new pathways are all receiving updated content and requirements.
Yep.
Does that mean they're going to still be easier and you should go buy a couple of extra paths before they
I have
disappear?
no way to know. They may be harder, they may be easier. The big thing is the content hasn't been refreshed in most of the paths, the methodology and materials, so that they're focusing, in my understanding, on the smaller group of paths so they can more easily keep them up to date.
And I guess the thing I want to emphasize here too, we actually just talked about this on our trio meeting just before this call, is this is not a scenario where TI has revealed the grand truth to us on the peak of the mountain and we're just not allowed to share it. It is not that sort of a thing. We're sharing what we know. And as a general rule for our district, when we know, you will know. We will make sure that we circulate the information to the division directors, the area directors, the club members, that sort of thing. Chris also brought up just a minor little point in the chat that getting the DTM plaque frequently takes a little while. Chris has they acknowledged the DTM on October 8th, and she has the official receipt that she's getting the plaque, but doesn't have the plaque. The TI fulfillment system is many, many things, but it is not rapid. So TI will get the thing, they'll confirm it, and you will get your plaque. We promise you, but it may take a little bit. So, Lee, I see a hand.
Yes, and this is in regards to the DTM project and probably also the HPL projects. I was wondering, does the district have a set of project ideas, work that the district would like to see get done, that they could have people who are working on their HPL or DTM project work on?
The short answer is no. Next question. No. The longer answer is that the district does have strategic priorities and things that we would like to see happening. And at any given time, I can't say right now, this is what we're always looking for, it's on a list. But if you have a desire to do something, reach out to district leadership if you want to help for something on the district level. And we will be happy to just brain dump whatever comes to our mind at the time. Jason's hand is going up. Jason?
I will add, as Teri used as an example, your year or part of your year or a major part of your year as a district leader is a great HPL or DTM project, because those materials can actually help you find other resources, get 360 feedback, help you grow as a leader in parallel while you're trying to manage that. When I did my HPL, now my DTM is in the legacy program, but my HPL was on, because there was no DTM project, you did a different HPL that had more requirements. And my HPL was on my year as club president, where I set the goal of being president's distinguished the first time. And I had a committee and did all of that, but I used my year as a leader to fulfill that project. That's a great one. Others are conference chair or committee chair of something at the conference are great ones. Serving in some other capacity. Small, generally the DTM project should be several months long at minimum, if not a whole year. HPLs also should be several months long. So being a chief judge is a bit of a stretch, but I've seen people use that as an HPL. I think that's a bit of a stretch, but.
Yep. And not to shoot us in the foot in any way, shape, or form here, but I'm also just reminding you, it does not have to be Toastmasters that you do this for.
Correct.
For my HPL under the legacy program, if anyone's ever heard of NaNoWriMo, National Novel Writing Month, that's a thing. And a whole bunch of completely crazy people try to write a whole novel in 30 days. And it's a whole mess of fun. And my project under the legacy program was that I got an area established for Nano because they do things based on interest, and so I got an area established. I recruited a team. We did all that sort of stuff, and it was a blast. So this is not something that has to just be the same old cookie cutter thing everybody else has done. Look for opportunities, get creative. Yuri, do you have another question?
Yes, among the requirements is the serving the club mentor coach. Says serve successfully as a club mentor coach. What does the TM kind of describe what a success looks like?
Well, for a sponsor or mentor, for both of those requirements, success means that the club sends TI an email after you're saying you've completed your service, where the club says, Yuri did good. That's what the success criteria for that is. The success criteria for coach is a little bit different. Theresa, you want to grab that one?
Sure. For coach, it is actually to bring the club to distinguished. And that would indicate that you are helping the club have impactful meetings, you're helping the club bring in new members and get the machinery behind both of them working. And what will happen is if you're named to a club, you can have up to about 2 full years. So if you're named to a club now and 7 months later, this June, they're still not distinguished, it's okay. You still have another year that you can renew and try again for the next year. Because again, you're not doing everything. You're an accountability partner and you are helping everybody have that input, that voice, that productivity. Unfortunately, if they still don't after that second year, it's very rare for an extra renewal. So hopefully up to 2 years is enough.
I just dropped the frequently asked questions for club coach in the chat, just in case anybody has any questions. Jason, did I see your hand drifting up there for a second?
Yeah, I was going to just comment. Being club coach is probably one of the most rewarding, yet one of the most difficult roles in the journey to DTM. Club mentor is challenging, but it has a finite endpoint in theory. You spend 6 months as a club mentor getting a brand new club off the ground. That can be extended to 1 year if the club is struggling, but a club coach is a longer period of time, and you have a higher probability of potential of not being as successful because it is much more meant to be a motivational leadership role rather than a doing role. Particularly with the changes they've made to the club coaching program, it requires specific progress reports showing progress, as well as really demonstrating that you're really truly coaching the club, not just joining it and fixing it. Historically, that's kind of what club coaches sometimes did, is they would join it and fix it, but they've changed it now so that is specifically not what you're supposed to do. So it is very rewarding, but it can also be very difficult. I do have club coaching in my past, and I will say the first year I spent getting the club to trust me and start to actually listen to my feedback.
Yeah, it's there's some challenges with that. I've been a coach for a few different clubs, and some clubs respond well, some clubs don't respond as well, and it's It's a different thing for every single club. Not that the other roles are cookie cutter in any way, shape, or form, but club coach, there's a lot more nuance than club mentor or club sponsor. So awesome. Any other questions? I see Yuri's hand again. Yuri, what you got?
Yes, this was mentioned, at the same time, it's something that I probably did not hear enough about. And it's the youth leadership program. I'm just curious, what kind of, I call them roots or kind of base is there in say in Wisconsin to start with, where someone can kind of latch onto and kind of use the leadership program towards their DTM?
I can speak a little bit to my experience on this, but Theresa, do you have thoughts to kick things off?
Basically, youth leadership is sort of like a speechcraft for kids. It's specifically the under 18s, and some of the successful youth leadership programs have worked with existing organizations to get the kids together. Grade schools, high schools, scouting programs, churches. So you bring some kids together and you help them learn how to speak coherently, how to lead meetings, basically the same thing we do with grown-ups. So it's a lot of fun because kids can be a blast. On the other hand, if you really don't like kids, perhaps that's not the one you'd want to pick. Go ahead, Robert.
Yeah, basically just imagine you have 6 to 8 kids, you put them together in a room and you have a Toastmasters meeting for 6 consecutive weeks. That's about what a youth leadership is. The thing is that you are intentionally moving them into the positions very rapidly. So you might have a kickoff where you show them how to do certain things, and by the next meeting, one of them is the Toastmaster, and you're just rolling them through it rapidly. The other thing that a youth leadership can turn into, and we didn't talk about it here because it's not reflected anywhere in the credit requirements for DTM, is something called a gavel club. And a gavel club is what you call a Toastmasters club where all the members are under 18. Or you can start a gavel club in prison. That's allowed as well. So the gavel club is a regular full-blown Toastmasters club that's not an official Toastmasters club. It's called a gavel club. The members are called gaveliers. The dues are obscenely cheap. It's like $50 a year for the whole club or something like that. So if a youth leadership really goes gangbusters, that can turn into a gavel club. In much the same way that a speechcraft that goes gangbusters could turn into either a brand new Toastmasters club, which would be awesome, or it can turn into a whole bunch of members for an existing club. The places that I've seen youth leadership in particular, the place I've seen youth leadership in particular being a thing is there's a lot of homeschool groups that are looking for drop-in curriculum, and in particular they look for drop-in curriculum that's a span of time so that they can just say, this quarter we're slotting this in, and something like a youth leadership would be ideal for that. I've run into a number of those types of groups, and we haven't actually gotten any of them off the ground, at least not the ones I've talked to, but it's a interesting opportunity. The only requirement is that it has to be led by a Toastmaster. So a youth leadership, a speechcraft, they both have to be led by a Toastmaster. Other than that, they're fantastic opportunities. So Todd, I see you have a question, and then we'll go back to Yuri.
So I've actually participated in gavel clubs and youth leadership and speechcraft and the part that I would say a lot of youth clubs don't particularly like is the meeting parts. Like, you're right, in the first meeting you're supposed to assign for the next meeting the person's going to be the president and the secretary so that they can have an agenda and they can have all that stuff. Most youth programs, they really don't care about meeting stuff. They want to just acquire the skills of like table topics or like a small speech, like an icebreaker or even an evaluation. And many of the hours or the time that you spend creating the meeting part of it will be wasted, because typically the student that you think is going to come back as the president for the next week is going to be missing that next week. So you're going to have to fly somebody in or shove somebody else in that role anyway. And it's constantly manipulating it so that it works. So careful how much time you wish to involve in something like that. My best advice for doing one of those is find like a community college that's got people who have dropped out with all their credits to graduate, and they're coming back to fill the end of their program. And they're often looking for the skills of how to do table topics for interview questions. Those are the people you will find that'll be the most keen and most embracing of the program, because they can see an immediate correlation between the two. And I've had the greatest success with those kind of programs in that kind of an environment. With the younger ones, yes, it's great for the 4-H's, the scouts, the cadet, and I've ran and judged all of the competitions all the way up to national level. They will be a big sponge. They don't really care about your management or meeting structure. They have their own structure for the military that they're using. They just want you to teach them how to become a better speaker so that they can kick butt in the contest. Just some food for thought.
Yeah, absolutely. Do not confuse the fact that you are not supposed to do all the work for the fact that there will not be a bunch of work to do. That's a very, very dangerous thing to confuse. And the other thing too, I'm stepping back and not talking about the DTM opportunity for just a minute here. Something Todd said, he said that some of these groups, they don't want to necessarily do a youth leadership, or they don't want to necessarily do a full-blown speechcraft, but they'd like some tips and some presentation stuff and that sort of thing. I've talked to a number of groups in the past where you just go in and you do a 20-minute session on here's how to do impromptu speaking. And then you close it by saying, and the thing you're going to need is practice. You're going to need to practice this. I mean, I can give you the tips and you do not now know it. This is not like the Matrix where, the little thing goes blah, 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 and you say, I know Kung Fu. It's not like that. So you need a place to practice. And what better place to practice than a Toastmasters club? So there's always opportunities for getting the word out. And like I said, that's not necessarily a speechcraft youth leadership tip, but it is a potentially finding members tip. So Yuri, what you got?
Yes, kind of following up on the whole youth leadership speechcraft. I'm just curious, are there people in our district have led a youth leadership program that can be reached out to, just as a resource but mainly for everyone who will be listening to this? Maybe they will be curious to know as well.
I happen to know the people at CNH have done a youth leadership, and I believe that Kona Bar did one as well. Theresa, who else do we have? Do you know anybody?
I was going to mention Kona. I think she actually did maybe 2 of them, and she could be somebody to answer questions. I don't know that she's doing more of them right now.
Yeah, she did them through the Oak Creek Club, so some of the other members of the Oak Creek Club may be familiar with that. I would say youth leadership, other than those 2 situations, I'm not aware of any others in the district. Speechcraft, Brandon Bierencott is a good resource. Paul Arnold is a good resource, as is Dick Hawley. Overall, our clubs, particularly in the Stevens Point area, do a lot of speechcrafts because of Dick Hawley and Brandon.
And just like with everything in Toastmasters, if you haven't done it, with the youth leadership and the speechcraft, getting the group together is probably the single biggest part of it. If you are doing a youth leadership and you have a predefined group that wants it done, don't freak out and worry about whether or not you're going to be able to do it. There are books, there are manuals. You can read through them. They guide you through it. They give you sample agendas. Do you want to do a 4 meeting, a 6 meeting, an 8 meeting, whatever sort of setup? And it's no different than running regular Toastmasters meetings. There's just some little things as you go. And then Todd, you had a question or a comment.
It was more of a comment. The youth leadership can be a very, very good enrolling tool for a Toastmaster club. And I say that because the youth people, the students in the group, they're going to graduate. And as part of the program, make sure if you ever do it, that whatever the board is agrees to the graduation piece. So many schools don't want to do the graduation piece because they just want you to be in, teach, and get the heck out. They don't want to have an extra graduation. You need the graduation piece because the kids are supposed to shine in front of their parents. And then the parents are supposed to ask the facilitators, which are the members of the club that put it on, what is this thing called Toastmasters? And it's a hook to get them into your club. You don't want to have given away 4 to 8 weeks of blood, sweat, and tears and just a thank you. You want members in your club as the benefit at the end, and you need that graduation piece to get that. Schools don't like to give you that. Teachers will think you're stealing their job. You need to look at it and get somebody on time who's going to be your champion inside that group to be that person. And as Robert said, if you can get a scout group where the scoutmaster musters all the kids, even better. If you can be in a friend of I don't know, you've got a kid or a child who's of the same age and they've got friends and they're all in like the 4-H club or the hockey club or the whatever club, and then the whole gang already comes together, that's a sweet deal. If you're the person trying to find all the people, that is a little bit more labor intensive.
Awesome. Thanks, Todd. Susan, I saw your hand pop up.
Yes, it is. I have a quick question. May I ask about Speechcraft?
No. Next? No, just kidding.
Darn. Okay, I studied under DeCauley because I helped him with his last Speechcraft. And they do a little bit different. They use the hybrid system of materials that they have on Speechcraft while still using the TI stuff. So I am going to be running one in January that is strictly online, and we're going to be using all of the virtual materials. I have 3 questions here. Is there a way for me to order this stuff as much as I need ahead of time so that I can see what the materials look like? And how far in advance can I get that before TI needs to know who the member names are? What is the time frame that members, speech crafters, have to access those materials? And how far before the first meeting should those materials be given to them or have them sign in for them? It's a 3-parter.
Yeah, those are fantastic questions, and I don't have answers. Is there anybody on the call that's actually run through the new format of Speechcraft? Go ahead, Jason.
So at a high level, my understanding, I would read in detail the information under Speechcraft under ti.org to be specific. But my understanding is I could buy a digital bundle right now. Until I assign people to it, it's unassigned.
Okay.
But the bundle belongs to me.
Yes.
So I can't. It is not transferable. It is not movable. It's not. So you have to be the Speechcraft leader of that part of the Speechcraft. So if you have, I believe it's with one bundle you get 5 people and you have 10 people. If you need to buy 2 bundles,
right?
If you have somebody helping you, ideally you buy one and the other buys the other, so you each have half the class to get the credit. If one of you buys them all, the other doesn't get the credit. Is the other trick, in my understanding of officially how it works?
I need more info on that, because I thought leading a Speechcraft meant I led the whole thing. I got helpers to help me, but only one person got credit. So if I understand what you're saying,
you can have multiple people get credit for the Speechcraft by working together. You do them in 5-person blocks.
Or think of it maybe this way. If you and Jason are running a Speechcraft, okay, and you have 10 people and you each buy a 5-person block, from TI's point of view, you're running a Speechcraft,
Right.
and
And
Jason is running a Speechcraft, and you just happen to be meeting at the same place at the same time with the same.
Now, it's different if, like, when you were helping Dick, you're just helping.
That's correct.
Right. And ideally, the best practice with a Speechcraft is your club is helping you at the Speechcraft, because the Speechcraft, in theory, is your club, is helping you sponsor the Speechcraft on behalf of your club.
And
because
his club
the idea is to help make the connection to your club or form a new club.
Yeah, and Dick's club did have all members helping. They asked me to step into one role, and I asked if I could stay for the additional 5 weeks just as an observer.
Right.
But then when opportunities arose, I stepped in. So I've got 6 people right now, so I do need to get 2 packets. So the ideal for me would be to go to my club or either one of my 2 clubs and say who needs to run a Speechcraft. Todd's looking at me.
Yep.
And we split the cost so that our names are separately on these, but it doesn't matter if I have 5 and there's out of one packet and 1 out of the other, if we use 2 or 4.
Ideally, if you have 2 people working on it, you want to get to that magic 10 where you're each managing half.
And that's why I was asking how far ahead I can order, because I don't want to fill in names if I currently have 6, but there might be a couple more people from my other organization. This is going to be for Richfield Historical Society, one of my committees. And there may be more people who are just going to hear about it after the first of the year. So we're starting in January. So I just wanted to know about that transition. Thank you for answering that. And thank you, Todd, for smiling at me.
I believe there is some limitation for how long the Speechcrafters have access, but that I'm less clear on. But I would expect it to be because when you actually look at the program, there's a bunch of legalese at the bottom where you're not supposed to reproduce the materials and stuff like that. Somewhere in probably the long version of that, it says how long they have access to it.
Susan, in the chat too, Chris Poole just dropped in a Speechcraft coordinator quick start file. So you might want to review that, because sometimes the official documentation has information that we don't know. We try, but there are definitely gaps in our knowledge, and sometimes you could drive a truck through them.
Yeah.
TI is always the authoritative source for this too. If you call TI, and actually this probably isn't a horrible time of year to call them, because they're not in the middle of renewals or anything like that, but Education Services at TI is the team that you want to talk to.
I've talked with them before. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate that. And thank you, Chris, for putting that in the chat.
Awesome. Well, it is 7:57. I was thinking we were going to run a little bit short earlier, but we're right up to the hour. We have 3 more minutes. Does anybody have any last minute questions, comments, thoughts, concerns? I
Teri,
assume Chris is scratching her back, not answering and asking a question. Sorry, Yuri, go ahead.
Teri mentioned you got feedback from the top District 7. Okay, that's the trio, the finance, the administration manager, and who are the other 2, if I'm correct?
The PR manager and the immediate past district director.
Okay, those are the 7. Okay.
Yep. Theresa dropped in the chat that if you hear about someone who wants to mentor, sponsor, or coach, please email Theresa. If you hear anybody have any mention, inkling, thought, whatever, if you're psychic and you see the thought float across their brain, suggest that they get in touch with us, because you are, and this is not your signing up for an email list where we're going to hassle you for the rest of your life, but we would like to talk to people that are potentially interested in opportunities and see whether or not the opportunity is something that's good for them. It's not just about whether it's good for us. We want people to actually like this and have fun. It's a fantastic program, and it works way better if people are enjoying it when it's happening. So definitely do not hesitate to reach out. We just actually scheduled our next club support seminar on the trio call tonight. I believe it's going to be Theresa going over the district incentive program and all of the fun and fantabulous opportunities available therein. That will be on, I think it was the first Sunday of December. So December 3rd. Do I have that right? Yep, December 3rd. So we will see y'all then. Have a fantastic night,
Thank you,
everybody.
everybody. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank
Your,
you. Have a good night, everybody.